Hey there, I got a mask today. And of course, gotta be fashionable. So, mine's reversible. Isn't this awesome? Alright. Oh, I can have fall or spring. Yeah, what crazy times. Heard in the news today that they were recommending wearing masks outside, and a member of my congregation texted me and said she's making some and have it for me by the afternoon, and this is quite a beautiful piece that she made. Thank you, Margie. I just thought maybe I should post something tonight because that was pretty anxiety driving news to hear today, and so I was thinking about maybe some words of comfort or inspiration, or I don't know, whatever. On last Saturday, Pope Francis gave a prayer in Rome, a service of prayer, and a wonderful sermon on one of my favorite texts. And he spoke about how we're all in the boat together. The text is Mark 4, and it's the story of Jesus stopping a storm. Mark 4, 35 through 41. Later that day, when evening came, Jesus said to them, "Let's cross over to the other side of the lake." They left the crowd and took him in the boat just as he was. Other boats followed along. Gale force winds arose, and the waves crashed against the boat so that the boat was swamped. But Jesus was in the rear of the boat, sleeping on a pillow. They woke him up and said, "Teacher, don't you care that we are drowning?" He got up and gave orders to the wind, and he said to the lake, "Silence, be still." The wind settled down, and there was a great calm. Jesus asked them, "Why are you so frightened? Don't you have faith yet?" Overcome with awe, they said to each other. "Who then is this? Even the wind and the sea obey him." And like I said, the Pope gave a very good sermon on this. I didn't know that the back of the boat was actually the roughest ride, and that's where Jesus is sleeping. The reason I read that is because I feel like I keep hearing terms like riding the storm or being in the storm of COVID-19, and I've learned some things through life, through spiritual direction, through just experiences. One of those things is something I was commenting in a text conversation with a friend today. The realization, I love this song by Brandi Carlile called "The Eye of the Storm," and I'll attach it after this. It's a great song. And I relate to that song because I know over the years I've learned I'm a person who shines in the eye of the storm. That when things get most chaotic, most anxious, I get calmer. And I shine. Which is probably why I did things like intentional ministry and always been interested in chaplaincy and police chaplaincy and being there when people were going through crisis. But I can't do it all the time. You can't dance in the eye of the storm constantly. You have to have breaks. But the thing that I've learned is that God is not present in the up, but that God is present in the down. And where I first came across this is my absolute favorite book in the world. I used to own multiple copies of these and just give them to people when they were in a time of transition, or they didn't know what they were going to do with their lives, or they'd had some major transformations occur. It's Parker J. Palmer. he's a teacher who wrote a book called The Courage to Teach. But this little book, so worth it. You can get it for like $10 on Amazon. Let Your Life Speak. You can find it at used bookstores for like $3, which is what I used to do all the time. It's called Let Your Life Speak, Listening for the Voice of Vocation. And it's about finding what your vocation is. What is it that you were put on this earth to do? And you learn that by listening to your life. That your life already tells you the story. Like I said, my life's told me the story that I dance in the eye of a hurricane. Here is a key point, of course, in the middle of the book. Parker Palmer struggled with depression as he was not following his vocation, even though it looked like it was, and really came to a point where he didn't know which way or up, down to go. And so this is a little part, page 69 in my edition, The Way to God is Down. And I think this is great wisdom, so listen. When I was finally able to turn around and ask, "What do you want?" the answer was clear, and this is God speaking to him. I want you to embrace this descent into hell as a journey towards selfhood and a journey toward God. I'd always imagined God to be the same general direction as everything else was in my life, up. I had failed to appreciate the meaning of some words that had intrigued me since I first heard them in seminary. Tillich's description of God as the ground of being. I had to be forced underground before I could understand that the way to God is not up, but down. The underground is a dangerous but potentially life-giving place in which depression takes us, a place where we come to understand that the self is not set apart or special or superior, but is a common mix of good and evil and darkness and light, a place where we finally embrace the humanity we share with others. Years ago, someone told me that humility is central to the spiritual life, and that makes sense to me. I was proud to think of myself as humble. But this person did not tell me that the path to humility, for some of us at least, goes through humiliation, where we are brought low, rendered powerless, stripped of pretense and defenses, and left feeling fraudulent, empty, and useless, a humiliation that allows us to regrow our lives from the ground up, from the humus of common ground. The spiritual journey is full of paradoxes. One of them is that the humiliation that brings us down to the ground on which it is safe to stand and fall eventually takes us to the firmer and fuller sense of self. When people ask me how it felt to emerge from depression, I can give only one answer. I felt at home in my own skin and at home in the face of the earth for the first time. Scott Maxwell put it in the terms more eloquent than mine. You need only claim the events of your life to make yourself yours. When you truly possess all you have been and done, you are fierce with reality. I now know myself to be a person of weakness and strength, liability and giftedness, darkness and light. I now know that to be whole means to reject none of it, but to embrace all of it. One of the key points in this reading that struck me today was the description of humiliation. COVID-19 is humiliating. It is without prejudice. It is full of the humus of life, of our humility, because it brings us low, it renders us powerless, it strips us of pretenses and defenses. We feel fraudulent, empty, and useless. But I want you to get this. Humiliation allows us to regrow our lives and grow up from the humus of common ground. And I think that's what we're finding more and more. We're in this together. I see people helping each other out more, reaching out, connecting with old friendships you've thought about but never done anything about. And there's something miraculous going on through this. It's awful, it's horrible, it's humiliating. But I think to be whole, we need to value both sides, the light and the dark of this experience. And that it is possible to come out whole, which means not rejecting any of it, but embracing all of it. And that's my prayer for you tonight. I also hope that you will be safe. And I said, I'm now prepared. So, good night and peace.